Out in the wide, sun-bleached deserts and high crags of Arizona, there are places where time itself seems to get lost. Stories cling to these canyons, and ghost towns like dust on your boots, tales that started with real people and true events, but have twisted over the decades into something darker. If you listen close, you'll hear old miners, outlaws, and wanderers whispering from the shadows, warning you to turn back. Tonight, we walk the hard edge between history and myth, counting down 12 places in Arizona that no one dares to visit, and the legends that haunt them. Not every mystery wants to be solved, but together we'll pull back the veil just a little. 1. The Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine Superstition Mountains. Somewhere beyond those jagged peaks, the earth hides something it shouldn't. It started in the 1800s, east of Phoenix, when a German prospector named Jacob Waltz staggered out of the Superstition Mountains, pockets heavy with gold and lungs, heavy with fever. Locals claimed he mumbled secrets on his deathbed, directions to a fortune hidden in a cursed canyon. The story spread like wildfire, drawing fortune hunters into the blazing wilderness, where they vanished one by one. Some say Waltz's gold is guarded by Tuartum's phantom sentinels of Apache legend, or by the spirit of Waltz himself, now a shadow among the stones. In 1931, Adolph Ruth trekked in, clutching a treasure map. Weeks later, they found his skull, a bullet hole through the jaw, the rest of him gnawed by animals. In 1949, a man named James A. Cravey set out with dynamite. Only a headless body ever came back. Even today, hikers report strange voices in the rocks, glimpses of ghostly figures trailing behind, or an unshakable sense of being watched. Skeptics say it's just heat, greed, and rough terrain deadly enough for any dreamer. But locals warn, respect the mountain, or you might never return. The legend still lures gold seekers and thrill hunters, and every so often, someone disappears. The superstitions remain a silent witness, waiting for the next soul, brave or foolish enough to try their luck. 2. Slaughterhouse Canyon, Luana's Sorrow. Some nights, when the river runs low, a woman's cries roll through the canyon like thunder. Down in the lonely wash near Kingman, a place once called Slaughterhouse Canyon hides a tale soaked in misery. In the 1800s, settlers carved out rough lives along the canyon's edge, among them a miner's wife named Luana and her children. When her husband vanished on a supply run, lost to bandits or the desert, Luana was left with nothing but famine and silence. As the food dwindled, so did hope. Starved and mad with grief, she did the unthinkable, ended her children's suffering, then waded into the river and let it claim her. Locals swear that on moonless nights, the air fills with the sound of weeping. Some say they've glimpsed a figure in a tattered dress, searching the banks for her lost children, or heard the desperate sobs echo off the walls. In the 1,970 seconds, 2 teens camping nearby bolted after a night of chilling wails and cold hands dragging at their tent. In 2002, a local hiker claimed a strange fog pressed him to the ground, whispering, "Where are they?" No animal tracks, just the faint outline of bare feet in the mud. Rational minds blame desert winds, the echoing gorge, or nerves stretched thin by isolation. But locals refuse to visit after dark. Some bring offerings, flowers, bread to ease Luana's pain. The canyon sits empty, save for the restless sorrow that refuses to die. No one lingers long. There's always something in the shadows, listening. 3. Jerome, the restless dead of the wickedest town. The wind up here carries secrets, and not all of them are buried. High on Cleopatra Hill, Jerome once pulsed with the feverish life of a mining boomtown, brothels, saloons, and sudden deaths. By the early 1900s, copper veins made men rich overnight, then spit them out broken. Murders and mine collapses stained the red earth. By the time the last shaft closed, Jerome was already calling itself the wickedest town in the West. But the miners weren't the only ones left behind. Visitors speak of shadows flickering in the crumbling hotel windows, faces pressed to glass in buildings long abandoned. In the haunted Jerome Grand Hotel, a former hospital guests wake to wheezing breaths, cold hands on their ankles, or the clattering echo of a gurney rolling the halls. In 1926, the elevator operator, Claude Harvey, was found crushed beneath the lift, and now staff whisper about his ghost forever waiting for a ride. A bartender at the Spirit Room claims a woman in a blood-stained dress floats past closing time, lips mouthing silent warnings. Skeptics point to creaky pipes, drafty walls, and a town built on unstable ground. Jerome does slide downhill a little every year. But believers insist it's the souls who can't let go. Ghost tours run nightly, and thrill seekers crowd the streets, cameras flashing, chasing orbs and cold spots. Still, some rooms remain locked. The living don't linger where the dead feel at home. The mountain holds its secrets, and the voices that drift on the night air are never quite gone. 4. The haunted bridge of Old Route 85, the La Llorona of Nogales. Cross that bridge after midnight and you'll hear the river whisper in a woman's voice calling you by name. South of Nogales, where the borderlands get tangled with the Santa Cruz River, stands a decaying bridge bypassed by newer roads. Here, legend says La Llorona walks, forever mourning her drowned children. In the 1800s, as settlers and smugglers crossed these waters, a woman named Maria lost everything, some say to betrayal, others to poverty. Driven mad by despair, she plunged her children into the river, then vanished beneath the current herself. Since then, the cries of Mis Hijos have become part of the night. Travelers speak of a shrouded figure drifting along the banks, hair streaming like river weeds. Truckers in the 1,960 seconds told of headlights flickering as an icy shape materialized on the road, forcing them to swerve or stall. In 1989, a local deputy chased what he thought was a runaway girl onto the bridge, only to watch her dissolve into mist above the water. Children raised nearby swear they feel watched, even in daylight, compelled to avoid the bridge at all costs. Skeptics blame urban legends, tired minds, or the echoing rush of water on steel. But those who live here leave offerings, candles, toys, hoping to quiet the restless spirit. The bridge rots, the river still flows, and after dark, even the most hardened locals take the long way around. No one crosses alone. The weeping woman waits for those who ignore her warnings, her story unfinished, her sorrow undimmed. 5. Vulture Mine Shadows. Beneath the earth, some riches can't be unearthed without a price, and some debts never get paid. Deep in the Sonoran Desert, west of Wickenburg, the abandoned vulture mine sits cracked and silent, a relic of gold fever that shaped Arizona's bones. Discovered by Henry Wickenburg in 1863, the mine spewed out millions in gold and hope, but never without blood. Hangings were routine punishment for thieves, their bodies left swinging from the hanging tree near the entrance. The earth below is riddled with shafts where desperate men clawed for fortune, only to be swallowed by cave-ins and bad luck. Visitors today speak of unnerving cold spots in the tunnels and a choking sense of dread. In the 1,940 seconds, a caretaker swore he'd seen spectral miners still picking at invisible veins, their faces frozen in agony. A modern ghost hunter reported a handprint appearing on the dust of her lantern, fingers too long and thin for any living man. The Lady in White, believed to be the widow of a hanged miner, is said to roam the upper levels, weeping for justice. Locals argue that drafts, rotten timbers, and desert delusions are explanation enough, but the mine's reputation draws paranormal investigators from across the country. They leave offerings at the hanging tree and refuse to go underground alone. The mine remains off limits after dark warnings posted, gates chained. Yet every so often, someone finds fresh footprints in the dust, leading deeper into darkness. No one can say what truly lingers beneath the vulture mine, only that the past is never fully buried here. 6. The red ghost of the Arizona desert hooves thunder where no living beast should run, and blood stains the sand long after the dawn. In the 1,880 seconds, the harsh desert near Eagle Creek became the stage for Arizona's strangest specter, a monstrous, red-haired camel with a corpse lashed to its back. Army camels brought west for transport were released after the experiment failed. One vanished, returning years later as something unnatural. The red ghost's first victim was a woman trampled to death on her homestead. Neighbors found red fur and enormous hoof prints circling her body. Over the years, ranchers fired at a towering beast only for bullets to pass straight through, and travelers reported a wild-eyed skeleton bouncing atop its humped back, mouth stretched in a permanent scream. In 1893, a cowboy claimed to have shot the creature dead. He dragged back a camel's body, tangled in old military leather straps, but the mystery endured. Some say the ghost still appears on moonless nights, haunting lonely trails and watering holes, its burden groaning in agony. Hikers today claim to hear labored breaths, the jangle of chains, or glimpse a blood-red shadow moving across the horizon. Skeptics chalk it up to hysteria, mirages, or the sun cooking the mind, yet no one can explain the trampled cattle, the strange tufts of fur, or the chilling sounds that linger after nightfall. The legend mutated, fusing animal fear and pioneer guilt, now memorialized in ghost stories, campfire warnings, and an annual Red Ghost Festival in local towns. But sometimes, when the wind howls just right, the desert remembers and the red ghost rides again. 7. Yuma Territorial Prison Iron Bars. Broken Spirits. At dusk, the clink of chains echoes down empty cell blocks, and sometimes you feel eyes watching from beyond the grave. Perched above the Colorado River, the old Yuma Territorial Prison earned a reputation as the hellhole of the West. Built in 1876, its thick adobe walls held murderers, thieves, and outcasts, men and women driven to madness by heat, isolation, and brutality. Over 3,000 souls passed through, and some never left, even in death. Disease, violence, and suicide were as common as sand. The dark, dark cell, solitary hole, is said to have broken men beyond repair. Tourists whisper about icy drafts on windless days, the faint jangle of phantom shackles, and unexplainable shadows slinking between iron beds. In the 1,930 seconds, a guard quit after seeing a faceless prisoner staring at him from the old women's ward, lips moving in silent prayer. More recently, a local guide reported feeling hands grip her neck, only to find herself alone in the cell. Paranormal teams document sudden battery drains, floating orbs, and footsteps, pacing after hours, always in the same empty corridors. Skeptics claim it's just the power of suggestion, or the lingering chill from thick walls and old stone. But locals treat the place with wary respect. School mascots are named for the Yuma criminals, and some descendants leave flowers on anniversaries, asking forgiveness. The prison's museum draws thrill seekers from all over, yet a few rooms remain locked, sealed for reasons no one will put in writing. The iron gates stand open, but Yuma's ghosts refuse to be released. 8. The Mogollon. Monster Arizona's elusive giant. Something massive moves where the pines grow thickest, leaving behind twisted branches and eyes that shine red in the dark. Deep in the tangled forest atop the Mogollon Rim, legends speak of a towering creature, part ape, part man, all nightmare. The first stories go back to the late 1800s, when settlers found livestock torn apart, strange footprints, and a foul stench drifting through the trees. The Apache tell of a hairy giant haunting sacred grounds, sometimes protector, sometimes punisher. Descriptions match. 7 feet tall, covered in matted fur, its howl shattering the quiet of the woods. In 1944, a Boy Scout leader saw a huge, black thing pacing their camp at night. In 1982, a hunter near Payson fired his rifle at a hulking figure after it flung rocks into his tent. He swears the beast let out a scream that made his blood freeze. Recent hikers share photos of broken saplings, twisted like toys, and blurry shapes just beyond the firelight. Even wildlife rangers, no-nonsense men, admit the woods sometimes feel wrong, as if watched by something ancient and angry. Skeptics blame bears, misidentified elk, or mass hysteria fueled by isolation. Still, the legend won't die. Locals carve wooden monsters for tourists, while some groups hold secret night vigils armed with cameras and courage. The monster remains elusive, seen just often enough to keep the fear alive. The Mogollon Rim stays silent, but when the wind shifts, something huge and unseen rustles in the brush, reminding you that the forest has its own secrets, and not all of them sleep. 9. The Ghosts of Two Guns Ruins, on the edge of the canyon. Where broken stone meets open sky, the past leaks through, never quite silent, never quite safe. Along the cracked asphalt of old Route 66, the town of Two Guns rots in the sun, its history etched in stone and blood. The legend begins with tragedy, a massacre in a cave, where rival Apache and Navajo clans clashed, leaving behind bones and bitter curses. In 1925, Earl Cundiff built a trading post, and his partner Harry, Two Guns Miller, dug deeper, uncovering skulls and artifacts. Soon after, Miller shot Cundiff in a dispute, and the land soured. Fires, freak accidents, and mysterious disappearances plagued every new venture. Visitors swear the ruins are never quiet. In the 1,950 seconds, a photographer captured misty figures dancing in the cave mouth, faces contorted in pain. A drifter in 1971 fled the site after waking to hands pressing down on his chest, pinning him to the ground. In recent years, urban explorers report disembodied voices, shadows darting through graffiti-tagged buildings, and sudden drops in temperature that freeze sweat on the skin. Locals shrug, saying it's all echoes, wind, coyotes, or the land remembering its scars. But no one lingers after dark. Some Navajo families leave cornmeal or stones as offerings near the massacre cave, hoping to calm restless spirits. The site remains abandoned, fenced off, yet travelers still risk a glimpse, drawn by the pull of something unresolved. Two Guns is a skeleton town, haunted by greed, betrayal, and old anger. The canyon swallows light quickly here, and when night falls, only the dead feel at home. 10. The Curse of the Petrified Forest. Touch the ancient stone and you carry its burden, a hex older than memory, silent as the desert. In northeastern Arizona, the petrified forest stretches under a sky that never forgives. The ground glitters with logs turned to stone, fossils over 200 million years old. Since settlers first arrived, stories have circulated. Anyone who takes a piece of petrified wood from the park suffers terrible misfortune. The curse's origin is a murky blend of native warnings and old ranger tales. Early travelers wrote of sickness, ruined crops, and sudden deaths befalling those who pocketed a souvenir. Rangers today keep a conscience pile boxes filled with rocks mailed back by guilt-ridden thieves. Some send desperate letters. Since I took this, everything has gone wrong. Or, please, put it back, I beg you. In the 1,960 seconds, a California man lost his home to fire within weeks of his theft. A honeymooning couple in 1985 divorced days after their return, blaming the cursed wood. To this day, tourists describe a heavy feeling the moment they try to leave, with stolen stone, flat tires, lost keys, or an unshakable sense of being watched. Skeptics point to coincidence and the harshness of desert life. But locals, especially park staff, never remove a scrap. Instead, they warn newcomers, telling the legend straight. The forest protects itself. Today, the park enforces strict rules, but the flow of cursed rocks in the mail never slows. The trees lie scattered, older than sin, daring the greedy and foolish alike. The curse, if you believe, is patient. It waits in silence for the next hand to reach. She'e. The cursed road of Route 666, Arizona's Devil's Highway. Drive after dark, and the road turns against you, tires go flat, shadows stretch, and sometimes headlights chase you with no driver behind. For decades, the stretch of U.S. Route 666 slicing through eastern Arizona carried a number that made even hardened truckers uneasy. The Devil's Highway, they called it a name born of both statistics and superstition. Since its creation in the 1,920 seconds, the road earned a bloody reputation, more fatal accidents than any other highway in the state, and stories of vanished travelers. The Navajo tell of skinwalker shapeshifters who haunt lonely highways, tricking drivers into oblivion. Travelers speak of hellhounds, giant black dogs with glowing red eyes that race beside cars or leap into the road, forcing drivers to swerve and crash. In the 1,970 seconds, a family described a phantom semi barreling toward them, only to pass through their car like smoke. A hitchhiker near Sanders swore a woman in white appeared in his rearview mirror, whispering, "Turn back," until he veered off the asphalt in terror. Others recount headlights trailing them for miles, vanishing without a trace. Skeptics blame fatigue, alcohol, or the hypnotic monotony of desert driving. But for years, locals refused to travel after midnight, and some vehicles bore charms against evil. In 2003, the route was renamed US 491 to break the curse, but the stories remain. Roadside crosses and makeshift shrines still dot the highway, silent warnings to the living. Some rows remember every soul they take, and Route 666 is still counting 12. The lost souls of the Hotel Monte Vista Flagstaff's phantom guests. Some rooms are never truly empty. Doors rattle, glasses clink, and laughter drifts from behind locked walls. In the heart of downtown Flagstaff, the Hotel Monte Vista stands as both a relic and a magnet for the uneasy dead. Built in 1927, it quickly became a crossroads for drifters, actors, and outlaws. Its bar, a place where secrets and blood mix freely. Over the years, tragedy seeped into the woodwork. A bank robber once bled out beneath the billiards table, whispering for one last drink. The meat man, a long-term guest in the 1942nd, stored raw steaks in his room after his death. A stench haunted the hall, and guests swore someone knocked on their doors with frozen hands. Modern staff keep a list of rooms not to assign unless desperate. Room 210, where a woman's ghost caresses men's faces as they sleep. Room 305, where a bellboy in a red coat appears at dawn, only to vanish before a word is spoken. In 2009, a musician woke to find someone sitting at the foot of his bed, humming a song no living person knew. Bartenders recount glasses, shattering mid-pour, and the elevator sometimes stops unbidden at floors where no one waits. Skeptics call it old pipes, suggestible minds, or the residue of wild history. But Monte Vista remains a pilgrimage for ghost hunters. Some guests leave tips for the spirits under their pillows just in case. Locals treat the hotel with both pride and caution, and the legends only grow as time ticks on. At Monte Vista, night never ends. Some guests check out, but their stories never do.